Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea. Coming off the Fed meeting yesterday, we made multiple further progress today on keeping entertained hour to hour. Great set of guests. I thought Wendy Schiller of Brown University, just wonderful on the linkages of the G7 meeting back to the other odd meeting of World War II, the Potsdam Conference of 1945. At that conference, Roosevelt had died. Truman was there as a newly minted president, completely different than FDR. Churchill was there as prime minister, but in the middle of the Potsdam Conference, he learned he was out of a job, and Clement Attlee took over. I think Clement Attlee maybe took over in the middle of the conference. I don't have that in front of me. And Joseph Stalin was looking at him going, "You crazy guys in the West. Is that any different than what Anne-Marie Horton is seeing in Puglia?" The G7 meeting, they lined up for the photo shoot today, and they had the guy from Germany struggling. Macron looked like he hadn't slept in a week. The guy from Canada was there smiling. I don't know where Canada's gone. President Biden with his challenges, which, for, against, whatever. And then bonus round, the Prime Minister of England, who's in a hellacious election battle with Labour. Just completely odd. They didn't even get to Ursula von der Leyen, I should say, out on the right side of the photo shoot, who's running Brussels and seems to be pretty assured of a view forward as well. But just bizarre European and politics and how it affects America. Had a great show today. Let's go first to this bull market. We really had a bull market-centric view today. A lot of good guests who have been right. They have participated. Stuart Kaiser of Citigroup on big tech.
Sure, there's a stock here or there, yes. But, if you look to your point, big picture, this is not tech bubble type valuations, right? This is not, tech bubble type over your skis. This is a small number of companies generating a massive amount of earnings growth that are getting rewarded for it. So, are we above average valuation? Yes. I think if you looked at the S&P 500, you'd say you're probably maybe even upper quartile, upper decile. But, there's still room to expand, I think, if the economy holds in and we continue to print the type of earnings growth we are.
Stuart Kaiser at Citigroup, but thank you to other people with different time frames talking about participating. Ted Oakley stopped by from Austin, Texas with Oxbow. And he's in the market. He owns tech. He's not buying new tech, but he hasn't sold what he's owned. And down at the bottom of his research note, the gentleman from Texas Tech, it's because he's got a 5-year perspective. How many of you, not me, certainly not Eric. Eric's just trying to get to Father's Day with baby Giuseppe. But the basic idea here is a 5-year hold. You're kidding me? That's my time frame. Ted Oakley in the markets participating with a time frame out that far. What a joy to have my first read of the summer. And Brad Setzer is definitive within academics at the Council on Foreign Relations, expert on China. And what's great about the terseness of the way he writes is every paragraph is tense. Every paragraph, it's written almost in a collegiate way. Every paragraph has value. His very short, wonderful read on deglobalization at Foreign Affairs Magazine, I just can't say enough about it. It is a primal scream against some of the myths of deglobalization. Here, Brad Setzer of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Elon Musk will make decisions that are good for Elon Musk. I think we've seen that. The U.S. government has to make decisions that are good for the American public. I do think in the case of electric vehicles, it is appropriate to put some limits on our imports from China to allow American electric vehicle manufacturers to scale up in the United States to catch up with China. I think what people often forget is that China has achieved its advantage in electric vehicles, not by truly liberal policies, but by very active industrial policies. China's electric vehicle industry has long been protected by tariffs, and China has very strong buy Chinese provisions linked to its EV subsidies, and it's thrown money at its battery producers. China's ahead. We need to catch up, and I think that's what the administration.
There's Brad Setzer of the Council on Foreign Relations. It's my first read of the summer, The Myth of Deglobalization. We had a bull market tinge today. I mentioned Ben Laidler in a tweet earlier today, getting the markets right in December of 2018. That chart is just breathtaking. To describe it here on this podcast, It's a semi-log chart which shows percent change. And from November 30th of 2018, it's a very contained trend, very nicely contained when you run a regression on it within 2 standard deviations. And we're not extended. On that trend, we're above the center line. We're above the center tendency, but we're not extended. That's something we talked to all of our bull market types today about, including Jon Stoltzfus, who's been a bull. He's maybe the first one I heard who whispered 5,400. He says he will not go higher until we print 5,500. And also, Paul Sweeney had to bring it up. It was great. And Jon Stoltzfus, like legit country guitar player. He's got some serious Broadway cred over the years. And for all of you looking for a treat for your graduate, Jon Stoltzfus on Martin guitars.
Well, I go after the custom shop guitars from there. So I've got a D18 Golden Era that's signed by
Martin.
And
it doesn't have scallop bracing. It's got traditional bracing, right?
It has traditional because it's mimicking something like 1941, 1942. And it's terrific. I think it actually is scallop breast. Wasn't that the original?
That's the original scallop.
Yeah.
Or doing it.
If it's a custom shop, you get the.
But Neil Young's 1968-69, D45s.
Oh, no.
Those weren't scalloped, and they got that old Martin sound.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I can tell you this: I've owned a D28 that I bought in the probably about 1982 from Manny's when it was still in business.
Yeah.
Great guitar. And later on, I bought a D28 that was a Brazilian rosewood from the factory, a reproduction. Oh. And I tell you the truth, the D18 with Indian rosewood from the 80s was a better guitar.
That's great. Where else are you going to get this? Jon Stoltzfus of OPCO, Oppenheimer and Company. I think he owns 47 guitars. I just lie, Eric. How much did that cost? I just moved the decimal point. It's like, it was $549, dear. And, someday I guess I'll have to sell them. Jon Stoltzfus on Martin guitars. We're going to finish strong for the week and into next week as well. We mentioned it once. Suddenly, June 30 beckons. Window dressing. Maybe that's what's driving big tech higher. On Apple Podcasts, single best idea.